This is how I made this artwork using ZBrush, Substance Painter and Maya. Don't forget to check out my socials and let's start. So okay, inside ZBrush I usually start with a base mesh since it helps me to speed up my process tremendously. Here you can see me adjusting the face as well as the body, and even though I end up not using the body at all on the final render, it's still good to have the body just in case you will want to create like a half body shot or anything like that. And the key here is to have a lot of references, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of references. On the second screen I have a big PureRef board where I gather all of my references for the anatomy, for the face structure, and here's the first pass of the face after around 2 hours of work. And this is the first concept I wanted to go with, and this is more of a vampire gothic look, and I'm pretty happy that I switched the theme, but it was looking quite nicely even though it was completely different thing. And right after that I've came up with this tribal theme that you see on the final render, and this is the earring, I guess. Yeah, this is the earring that I end up not even using, but this is how it goes. You just concept a lot, you just brainstorm a lot, and then you came up with something like this. And this is the second pass, and a lot of the jewelry you see here are actually on the final render as well. Yo, if you like my content, go check out my Patreon page. I have Blender, Cinema 4D and ZBrush tutorials there, as well as some cool downloadable things. And now my favorite part begins. I started to refine this face ornament. At first I had this big shape that I ended up not really liking, so I decided to go with these small circles and create some more interesting shapes on the face, chin and forehead. The technique I used is really simple, it's really basic, but it still works for me. So first you need to select the ornament brush, in this case I've used the sphere. Then you need to enable the curve mode, and then you can basically draw the spheres on the mesh, but what you need to do at the end is to decimate it. If you want to use it in the render engine, you need to decimate it because otherwise it will have a lot of geometry going on. So yeah, decimate it and you're good to go. And this is how it looks like by itself. Definitely try it out. You can use any other ornament brushes, any other shapes to create your own masks. This is the first render pass. So what I did here is I've just created this gold procedural gold material, and I've just applied it to the hat, to the jewelry, to the ornament we just did, and this is how it looks like. I really like how it turned out. Even though this is just a draft, I still think that it's the vibe on its own. And here I started creating my face textures, and this is really not your usual technique of doing skin textures. I basically use texturing XYZ maps, and yeah, I use texturing XYZ maps. I project them as a poly paint onto the figure, and using this technique that I've learned from Jared Chaves on YouTube, you can basically then use this poly paint information to inflate your mesh and to create like a nice base layer of the skin details, if that makes sense. And again, if you have texturing XYZ maps, definitely try this technique before. I was using the technique with the wrapping, using the R3DS wrapper, I guess, the plugin inside ZBrush. But honestly, this is way more artist-friendly technique, I would say. It helps you to visualize everything right away, and you don't need to spend a lot of time like doing wrapping, aligning everything together, baking the textures. You can do it inside ZBrush, which is really nice. It's not gonna be as perfect as other techniques, but it will still give you a nice starting point. Again, the whole point of this technique is to give you a nice starting point. As I've said before, when doing skin, try having as many references as you can. You don't need, honestly, you don't need any fancy brushes. You can use, as I do, I just use them standard brush to create some skin folds and all that. So yeah, go try it out. Another thing is to practice the skin texture, and it may sound weird, like why would you need to practice skin texturing, but it actually makes difference. At first, when I was just starting, I wasn't like sure if I should put like a fold here and there, but after some time spent doing projects over and over again, I realized like how important this fold may be, or how important this fold may be, or why you don't need to do lips like that, or why you don't need to do, like, for example, wrinkles under the eye like that. And it also depends on the character you're doing. If you're doing like an old character, you need to put more wrinkles under the eyes, maybe on the forehead and all that. But if you're doing young character as I do, then you probably don't need that many wrinkles. But again, it depends on your character and depends on your theme. If you're doing stylized characters, maybe you don't need skin at all. But yeah, it all comes up to your project. And then after the base detail layer is done, I started doing henna on top of it. And basically henna is a tribal ornament that is basically meant to scare the spirits away. And honestly speaking, you don't need to have a lot of references, you can just improvise a lot, but just make sure to make it as complex as you can, because the main goal of the henna is to scare the spirits, and the idea of it being complex is the more complex the henna is, the better it would work. And once I'm done with all of the skin detailing and all that, I just export everything as a displacement map using multi-map exporter inside ZBrush. And this workflow is super simple. You need to practice it a bit, you need to memorize some parameters here and there, because it can be buggy sometimes, especially when you check it on your render, it can not show up. So yeah, I would suggest you to double check all of the settings before baking, so you're not gonna be ended up wasting your time. And now the XGen, the hair creation. The crazy thing, to be honest, because I'm still not sure how to correctly do the XGen hairs, but I'm getting there and I'm practicing it with every project. I'm getting better, I feel that. So a couple of things I would say about XGen is that, first of all, it's buggy. Yes, sometimes when things don't work, it's not because of you, it's because of XGen, because of the project settings and all that. It can be true. So make sure to close the Maya and restart the Maya if you're struggling with something weird or anything. But other than that, it's all about you placing the guides in the right place, I would say, and that's like half of the work. And the other things such as modifiers, noise modifier, clumping and all that, those will help your hairs to become alive, but it's all starts with a guide. So if your guides looking good, if your guides are placed the way they should be placed, then everything will look good. But otherwise there may be some troubles you will notice. And definitely those hairs you will see, they are not perfect, but they do the job done, especially for the type of renders I end up doing. That's another thing. Don't try to make everything perfect. If you see that it like good and it does the job done, then you're good to go. You don't need to spend like a whole week creating the hairs unless you want. And now the texturing. Honestly speaking, I loved texturing this model, I loved texturing this henna and all that. And here you see me baking the maps, and as you can see, normals looking really nice. On this project I decided to use this workflow when you start with a subdermis layer, which is basically the blood flow under the skin, and then you apply your base colors, makeup, freckles and all that. And that's my favorite part. So we sculpted the henna over the face inside ZBrush, exported it as a displacement map, and now we're gonna paint on top of it. Basically, we're gonna create this natural feel of the henna, the really nice feel of it being three-dimensional, tactile, and it just gives you another level of details on top of everything we already have. And now I'm finalizing everything with a little touches of makeup here and there with the color correction. I also added the eyeliner as usual, I also added the blush, the highlighter, and of course the lips. So guys, that's it. That's my workflow when it comes to creating 3D art, the artwork using 3D tools. Thank you so much for watching. Keep an eye on the future content. Also check out my socials, my Patreon, my Instagram. One more thing I would like to say, and I know you need to hear that, it's that your art is beautiful. You are amazing, your art is beautiful. Don't doubt yourself and just keep it up. Thank you so much for watching once again. And if you made it this far, go write something in the comments, I don't know. Bye bye.